Hello friends, it's Mrs. Sapia. I miss you all, but I especially miss the Cheez-Its that I try to steal every day at snack. It's St. Patrick's Day, and St. Patrick's Day is one of my favorite days of the whole year. Last Friday, I was able to teach you a lot about Ireland, and I told you that my grandmother came from County Roscommon over 100 years ago. I had a lot more we were going to do today, but we're not together. But I'm still going to be able to read you a story that's one of my favorite stories about Irish folklore. It's a story that's been passed on generation to generation. It's called Finn McCool, the Giant of Knockmany Hill. It's retold and illustrated by Tommy DePaulia. And you'll notice in this book, there is a lot of Celtic art, just like we spoke about on Friday. Finn McCool, the Giant of Knockmany Hill, retold and illustrated by Tommy DePaulia. In olden days, when Ireland's glens and woods were still filled with fairies and leprechauns, giants too lived in the fair Emerald Isle. One of the finest of those big folk was Finn McCool, who was wed to the lovely great lass Ona. They made their home on the top of Knockmany Hill. Now, as any good giant, Finn McCool had his work to do, so he was often away from home. Lovely Ona didn't seem to mind, for there was plenty to keep her own hands busy, spinning, knitting, and even giving a pretty touch to their great home. Life was very pleasant indeed. One morning when Finn McCool was busy working with his kin, building a causeway to Scotland, the word came that Cuchulainn was coming. Cuchulainn was a giant too, and without a doubt the strongest in that part of the world. When he walked, the very earth trembled, and with one blow of his fist, he had flattened a thunderbolt, so it looked like a pancake. He was so proud of that feat that he kept the thunderbolt in his pocket to show all just how strong he was. Every giant in Ireland had been given a good beating by Cuchulainn. Every giant, that is, except Finn McCool. And Cuchulainn swore by the great that he would never rest day or night, winter or summer, until Finn McCool was added to his list. So far, Finn had been smart enough. He kept moving around whenever he heard that Cuchulainn was in the neighborhood. But this time Cuchulainn was sure to get him. So Finn left the causeway and sped off to home to Knockmany Hill and his darling Ona. "Finn, me love," said Ona, greeting him at the door. "What brings you home so early from your work?" "The chance to get a sight of you, my sweet thing," said Finn. Since he was as honest as he was strong, he added, "and to keep out of the way of Cuchulainn. He's after me." Ona soothed her husband. She brought him his slippers. She lit a pipe for him. She stirred up the peat fire so he would be cozy. Then she set down a huge mug of stout and cut a gigantic slab of soda bread for his dearie. "Finn, husband of mine, enough is enough," said Ona, gently as she could. "For years you've been hiking around from one place to another to avoid this Cuchulainn. Why, you even built our house high on the windiest of hills, so you'll be able to see him coming. You'll not get a moment's rest until you stand fast and face him." "Aye, I'll be getting plenty of rest if I stand fast and he knocks me down. I don't have the heart to face a man who can make a young earthquake just with his walk and who carries around a flattened thunderbolt in his pocket just to prove his strength." At that, Knockmany Hill gave a little dance. "He's coming," shouted Finn, his face turning a fine shade of pale green. "Now hush," said Ona, "and give me time to think. Do you worry that I won't do all I can to help you settle this matter once and for all?" Ona then worked her charm the fairies had taught her. She took 9 woolen threads, each a different color, and braided them into 3 braids. She put one around her right ankle. She put one around her right arm, one circling her heart. Now, nothing she did could fail. Next, she sent round to all the neighbors to borrow 1 and 20 iron frying pans. She hid them in the 1 and 20 loaves of bread that she baked on the fire in the usual way. She set them in the cupboard with some bread she had baked the day before. She then took a pot of milk and made it into fresh wet cheese and put it along with some white stones at the foot of the cradle she had made up. "Now, me darling," she said, handing Finn some baby clothes, "put these on and do everything just as I'm about to tell you. And remember," she said at the last, "Cuchullin's strength lies in his brass finger he has on his right hand. Now quick, into the cradle, because I hear the man mountain at the door." "All right, woman," bellowed the giant at the door. "Where's that coward Finn McCool that I've been chasing after all this time?" "Well, well," said Ona, with her sweetest smile. "Now isn't that a shame? Finn was off working in the causeway when some important family matter called him away. But he'll be home by tea time. So why don't you just come round and sit down?" Poor Finn trembled in the cradle. "See this," Cucullin said, pulling what looked like a pancake out of his pocket. "This was a thunderbolt until I caught it and flattened it. And that's what I'm going to do to Finn McCool too." "Tis, tis," said Ona. "That may not be as easy as you think. Finn McCool's a big broth of a man. Why, take a look at our little baby, and you might be getting an idea of the strength and breadth of Finn himself." Cucullin peeked at the cradle. "Cheer up," said the huge baby, looking back at him. "My," said Cucullin, "what a big boy." "While you're waiting, why not have a bite to eat?" said Ona. She put some loaves of bread on the table, along with a can or 2 of butter and a pile of cabbages. Cucullin, who was as much a glutton as he was a bully, popped a loaf into his mouth and took a huge bite, right down on one of the frying pans. Clang! "Yo!" shouted Cucullin. "What kind of devil's bread is this? Here are 2 of me teeth out." "Oh, that's Finn's bread, the only kind he eats," said Ona. "Is it a bit too tough for you?" "Too tough for me?" shouted Cucullin. "I shall not say. Give me another." Cucullin chomped into another loaf and into another frying pan. "I'll not have a tooth left in me head, woman. There's 2 more out," Cucullin hollered even louder. The baby began to holler too. "Hungry, hungry, hungry." "Ah, sweet dumpling," said Onaf, and she handed baby Finn a loaf. And because there was no frying pan in it, Finn ate it right down. "More?" said the baby, and he gobbled up another loaf. "He seems a strong lad," said Cucullin, getting a little worried. Was the baby? The father must be indeed a bit stronger than Cucullin thought. "Ah, yes," said Ona, beaming. "Why, instead of dollies, he loves to play with those white stones there in his cradle. Show the nice man, baby dear." Finn did as he was told. He picked up a stone that was really cheese and squeezed all the water out of it and popped it into his mouth and ate it down. Cucullin was not to be outdone by a baby. He grabbed a stone and squeezed. He squeezed and he squeezed. He squeezed as he might. He couldn't get the drop of water out of it. He popped it into his mouth, and with a chomp, there went the rest of his teeth. The howl that came out of him almost broke all the windows. When he finally calmed down, Cucullin said to Ona, "What kind of teeth does that lad have? They must be made of iron." Let me see your chompers, baby. At that, baby Finn opened wide his mouth, and Cucullin stuck his brass finger in, the very brass finger that was the secret of his strength. With a strong bite, Finn McCool bit the brass finger right off. Then up Finn leapt and began to pound the daylights out of poor Cucullin. That was that. Out the door went Cucullin, never to bother anyone, let alone Finn McCool again. "Tea's ready, me love," said Ona, and Finn McCool sat down with the best giant wife in the whole world, and they lived a long, happy life. I hoped you liked that folk tale from Ireland. I also want to let you know that on hgtv.com there are activities for St. Patrick's Day for children, and you might want to take some recycling you have at your house, maybe some toilet paper tubes, some Kleenex boxes, old strawberry bins, things like that, and some yarn, and try to catch a leprechaun today. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.